I am a video producer. So, and I'm also a mentor, I guess is the official title. So full time, I work for a nonprofit in San Francisco called Baycat. It's an acronym. It stands for the Bayview Hunters Point Center for Arts and Technology. We are a nonprofit. We've been around for 15 years. And we are one part video production company and one part training academy in video production. And we focus specifically on educating women and people of color. So basically underrepresented communities in the video making industry. And we have two programs for training. We have a youth program, so that's for middle school and high school age students. And then we have a young adult program. So that's for 18-year-olds or young adults age 18 to 25. And we have an internship program for them. And that's what I oversee.
Okay.
So it's a 4-month internship. And we meet with them twice a week, fully paid. And, it's an opportunity for them to get hands-on experience working in video production with some of our clients. I think one of our biggest clients, one of the coolest ones we like to always tout is Golden State Warriors. We do a lot of community videos for them.
Okay.
And then a number of other really cool Bay Area for-profit and nonprofit organizations. So I oversee that. And outside of that, I'm a freelance video producer. So work with a lot of clients here in Oakland where I live. And I also do a lot of my own independent creative stuff. So right now I'm also like leading I'm written and producing and am starring in a web series.
Okay.
That I'm currently in the midst of editing season 1 of. We shot that in January, right before all of this chaos hit.
Wow.
That's been really cool. It's been good that we luckily got it in right before all this hit and things kind of departed. So it's just been really leading the post-production process for that. So hopefully I can get that launched this summer.
Yeah, it looked like a really cool project. It's great that you got it in right before all the madness hit, because I know a lot of big productions, all Hollywood's shut down right now and not a whole lot happening, countrywide.
Yeah, for sure.
So you're editing that yourself, or you've got a team with that?
Yeah, actually, so that's kind of one of my goals with this independent project is I want to try to stay true to my mission, which is helping support young video producers that are trying to get stuff on their reel and, helping folks from underrepresented communities. So a part of this is I'm used to kind of being a one-man band, doing everything from the shooting to the editing. But with this project, I've been working with a team of editors, actually some of our graduates from our internship program. I'm working with a couple of them on the post-production process right now for that. And yeah, it's all been remote honestly, it was probably going to be predominantly remote anyways, just because, our schedules are all over the place. We all have full-time jobs now, but it's definitely been super remote now. A lot of, I use, whenever I'll give them, a deadline for a cut, and then I'll have them upload it to this platform I'm a huge fan of called Motion Array.
Okay.
And Motion Array has a really easy tool for, leaving comments right on the timeline of the video. So I've been able to go back and forth with them and give them notes. And then, the next step for me, actually that editing process is almost done. And I actually had a music producer come on board. I met him out here, and actually after he got on board, he ended up quitting his full-time job and moving to Los Angeles. So I was just corresponding with him today, hey, I think we're about ready to start getting the score. So we're going to have a little digital conference here this weekend. I'm going to show him where we're at with the film so that he can get into actually doing some of the scoring for it.
Sure. So, other than kind of amplifying the remote functionality of editing and post-production, how has this pandemic affected not only your personal projects, but also your full-time role?
Yeah. So On my full time, we're in a unique position. We're actually kind of blessed as a nonprofit right now because our development team has done a really good job of not only securing funds, to keep the doors open generally, but they also did a good job of like securing emergency funds. So that not only means that right now we're able to continue to employ all of our full-time workers, but we're also able to continue our video production internship remotely.
Okay.
Which has been interesting. Part of the reason why a lot of our interns are attracted to Baycat and are looking for this internship is because they want the real world hands-on experience of actually being on set.
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunately, our spring internship, which is going on right now, they're not going to, like, we were just at the halfway point. We were like days away from production. Like the first production was supposed to kick off like the Saturday right after all of this mess went down. So very, very limited amount of experience actually getting to be on set. But we are still able to pay them. They are coming in 2 days a week. And so a lot of them, we asked them to pick tracks to focus on based on their phase of production they're most interested in. So luckily the folks that are editors, like we had already kind of mapped out their timeline. They were going to be working at their editing suites. We have a bunch of MacBook Pros already loaded up with all the software they need. Yeah. So we loan those out to them. And then some of our folks that were focused on pre-production, they're still able to do a lot of work as well because, it was a lot of like, whenever we are able to get back to production, we want to be able to hand off this concept, right? Or this shot list or all of these other documents to whoever is going to actually end up shooting it. So we need you to get that ready regardless, right? We don't know exactly what date's going to be, but we still need those things. We also still need creative concept pitches. We can still go out and pitch to clients, even if it's remotely. We can share a screen. So then it's really making sure that the folks that are really wanted to focus most on production, they have a mix of doing some of that post-production work, supporting as an assistant editor, and doing some of that pre-production work and some more strategy work. We got them definitely more involved inside of our social media now. And then, I mean, hey, like we're in a time, and this is something that I've told our interns consistently is like, cinematography is great, but honestly, like it's all about story, and it's all about good audio. If you can have an amazing story and you can have amazing audio, if it's at a lower video resolution than we like, then we're okay with that, So what can you do? How creative can you get if maybe you only have like your own personal DSLR, or maybe you have only your smartphone to work with? So we've got folks out there now shooting a lot of videos using their family members and, people within their like community or in their household that they know they can be safe around, and they're actually still going out and doing some work. So
yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right. Good audio and good story is going to outsell a fantastically shot video any day of the week.
Yes.
And I mean, I think that's one of the big things that some people are even considering. If the video work doesn't come for a while, can they still take on some Foley work or some sound production? Do you guys do any of that there at your facility, or is that, like, tell me about the process of sound production in your own projects as well as others.
Yeah. So we actually, we're like, it's crazy because I just got off of another meeting where like our team is like, okay, what are some things that we're going to be able to do now? We have a lot of productions on hold. Some people, like, their money ran out, so they can't allocate to this. So, we had conversations around doing more podcasts. A lot of us have like all of the gear. I have like a really great at-home studio that I can work out with some good audio equipment. So we're able to do voiceover stuff pretty easily. We actually just dropped a video on Friday that was produced by our studio team. That was all, we had people, we sourced videos from the community. So it was all like smartphone stuff, most of it vertical, but we housed it inside of, a really nice, like our branding, like a nice clean background, added a lot of kinetic text to it, which, gave it a lot of life. And then we were able to have folks record voiceover using their at-home microphones.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and then just clean it up a little bit in Premiere and in Audition, and we've been good to go.
So let me ask you this, on a project like that, like what's the number one thing that you found successful to generate user content? Like how were you able to source that?
Yeah. Well, on a project like that, I mean, I think that that's where it's still beneficial that we have like a larger team. You know, there's a lot of kind of like one-man band shops out there,
Mhm.
but you know, we still have production coordinators full time, and they're focused solely on like, all right, blasting out to our community, blasting out to our network, and making sure like so that our editors can work on the post-production side, and our you know our creative directors can work on like the full vision. It's really nice to have, you know, production coordinators that are like actually writing up clear communication,
Right.
you know, sending a link where the videos can be delivered to. So we use Dropbox for
Mhm.
that. Um, and you know, so it's good to also have like a premium service and some pretty good internet so that you can upload and download that type of footage really quickly.
Sure.
Also, that was also a repository because we still have to follow the same kind of protocols when it comes to you know, using other people's images, right? So we needed to either have like a document, have them sign an e-document, upload that to Dropbox as well.
Mhm.
I actually one of the videos that we needed to source for was a video where we were like talking with first, you know, line responders to this kind of stuff. And that could be from like the medical industry, but also from like the grocery store industry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And, you know, ironically, my wife is the owner of a grocery store in West Oakland.
Okay. What
Um,
store?
it's called Mandela Grocery.
Oh,
Um,
nice. Yeah, I love
yeah,
this spot.
it's great, and it's a cooperatively owned business. It's really cool. It's predominantly Black folks that own it, and it's like walking distance from me. So
Mhm.
whenever I got the call, like, "Hey, we need to source first responder videos," I was like, "Great, I can do that in my lunch break real quick." So I went over
Right.
there, interviewed a bunch of people, and was able to also, because I had so many, right? Rather than give them all like email them back like some e-signature, I just was able to put the phone in front of them, camera, and have them read a little bit, a quick line or two that would
Yeah.
basically said, "Hey, I give my rights for the utilization in this video,"
So
and
a
you know that
verbal release form, basically.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, so I mean that's been the yeah Dropbox and good internet, and then
Mhm.
having a coordinator or somebody that's just really like on just like, you know, coordinating those efforts have really been the only kind of like technical, or like was really the only technical limitations. We were able to, I mean, because we also want like a video like that to be timely. I
Mhm.
was I was like, we turn this video out quicker than we do like our normal videos, right? I mean, and that might have been a couple of things. Obviously, it wasn't 4K footage for the most part, so it wasn't as hard to edit.
Yeah, yeah.
But also, like, whenever you know you need to work quickly, or you know you have to be limited on the size of the video that you're uploading or download, you're a little bit more succinct in, or your interview has to be a little bit more succinct, right? So rather than conducting a 20-minute interview with each of them and then sending that over to an editor and having them spend like, you know, however long just sifting through it to
Yeah.
find the good sound bites, it was like, all right, we're working with limited time. I need 15 seconds
Right.
tops, you
Right.
know? And that helped out. That expedited it a lot.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I know the value of a production coordinator is key on any production, but when you are streamlining and narrowing things down and being more specific, I think that role becomes even more vital.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
What about gear wise? What do you, I mean, if you're out there doing a really quick interview setup, like what are your essentials in your bag, or what do you need to have with you?
Yeah. So that one was even less gear, but actually I have a better, another recent example. So actually it was a day after we got shut down, right? Our office got closed. I think it was like 3 weeks ago. That same day, Red Bay Coffee, which is like an Oakland, you know, coffee, like roastery and cafe, they emailed me and they were like, hey, like we were supposed to have like an in-person like kind of grand opening or early opening of our new space in Oakland, but we
Yeah.
can't do it now. So we want to do it all virtually.
Right.
So we're going to have a live streaming, right? And so, I had like a day's notice on this, but I was like, okay, I think let me look inside of my arsenal. Let me see what I can pull from our equipment shed. And so what did I ended up pulling was a smartphone monopod,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously my smartphone, and then we got like a little Rode shotgun mic that
Mm-hmm.
we just got it from Best Buy really quickly. We ended up having to kind of just tape it to the top of the smartphone case, but it worked. It was super solid, plugged right
Yeah.
into the phone. It was actually we had to have an adapter, it was a dual adapter. So one, the adapter had two splitters. One went into the headphone jack, and then another one went into a power source, so that we could do a full live streaming without it running out of battery and still maintaining that good audio quality.
Right. Right.
So yeah, honestly, I think that was like all I needed for something like that. If I wanted to uh, do it again, the one tricky part was like we wanted to shoot it horizontally, and I have a smartphone gimbal,
Mm-hmm.
but the smartphone gimbal, which I love for stabilization, wouldn't allow me to plug anything in, right? Whenever you have it horizontally or even vertically, you're not even really able to plug anything into that adapter.
Right.
So that's kind of like what the next technical hurdle is for me, is like, okay, like a wireless system,
Yeah. Yeah.
and actually, like, I don't know, sometimes, I don't know if you notice this, but Facebook ads or Instagram ads will sometimes just pop up things like, I swear it hears me talking. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
just saw this clip-on wireless lavalier
Yeah.
that they're promoting to vloggers now, but I'm like it gets detected by your phone really quickly. Like, I would love like a Bluetooth wireless lav like that.
Yeah, yeah, that would be really handy for a lot of scenarios, especially when you're running and gunning and don't have the ability to bring a big full production set.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you foresee like this shift in production? Um, I forget the word that I'm looking for, but like the fact that we have to be so quick and so agile.
Hmm.
How do you think that's going to project into the future, and how can other filmmakers prepare for that?
Right. Yeah. I think that is like, it's just shining a light on this. I think, um, a really cool part of my job right now is I'm actually like conducting interviews with employers out there looking for entry level folks.
Hmm.
And, some of the questions that I'm interviewing them about is like, what are some trends that you're excited about that are like, that you're seeing a lot of, that maybe you're seeing with some applicants that they stand out for you. And, I had somebody today, I hadn't really thought about it, but he's like, like I went to school in like the late 90s, early 2000s, where you really couldn't be a one-man band. And so that's really still the model that a lot of these large agency and large production companies are still in the like, oh no, like I went to school for editing, I only do editing. I went to school, like, you have a $50,000 camera, you only get to touch that $50,000 camera if you are the camera operator, right? So I think the biggest like trend that we're going to see from this is that a lot of these companies that are used to just having such large teams are really going to start to like look at the people that's like, oh, you know how to like edit in Adobe Premiere, and you understand good cinematography principles, and audio editing, and you can answer an email and like do a little bit of production coordination as well. Like,
Yeah.
maybe we can kind of consolidate some of these roles. Or, I think a pet peeve for me, as an editor, I have kind of an editing background, is I've been in so many like review sessions where I'm getting feedback from people that are supposedly more senior than me, and they're telling me all these editing things, but they have like no clue how to help me to achieve what they want,
Right. Right.
So I'm always like, as a producer, I want to be able to jump into Premiere
Hmm.
in order to like in a pinch help out with that, or at least like show you how you can achieve that, right? So my hope is that for the industry, there's going to be a little bit more accountability from the non-technical parts of the video producers. So like, you know, production coordinators and executive producers, where it's actually going to be like, actually, in order to get into these positions, you may need to actually do a little bit more like learning yourself, so that you're not just telling an editor or a camera operator what to do, but you're able to actually have some technical acumen behind it, and in a pinch jump in.
Right. So, I mean, I think that there's definitely a shift from those bigger productions potentially on the horizon. I know, I mean, as budgets might get slashed from the scenario that we're in, people might lose their job. You know, and that's always the concern, you know, when you work for a corporation or for a bigger firm. It's like, okay, well, I can't pay all these people, and then they get laid off, and then they get busy doing something else, or, you know, because they've got to find resources. And then the next person comes along who's got a more varied portfolio or skill set. They can kind of slide in and take a couple of roles that you know, they had to fill before with two people. Therefore, their overall cost of employing people is coming down as well.
Right.
Foresee that. I mean, what would you say for people that are just getting started or are looking to expand their skill set? I mean, what should they focus on right now?
Well, I think, I mean, that's a great question. I think areas like this second, now is the time for you to actually go and, if you don't have the finances to secure Adobe Premiere, now's the time for you to leverage the Adobe Creative Cloud, because they are giving that away like for the next 30 days, I believe, for free. I believe I saw something similar for Final Cut Pro if you want to dabble into that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many like online tools right now to just like bone up in your post-production stuff. I also feel like it's a good time in general for folks to really start to become the subject matter expert on social video distribution outlets, right? Like you need to understand like the end, like I think if you can, you know, apply to your next job and tell them like, yeah, I have experience doing Instagram Live, I have experience doing Facebook Live, I have experience creating content across all of these different verticals, and I understand the advantage of going with this aspect ratio over this aspect ratio, depending on the audience, or, you know, any of that kind of stuff. I think that like it's still new enough, right? People are talking about it, but nobody actually wants to be like the major subject matter expert at that. And I think that that's like a really unique thing that like could help to like put your resume over other folks. Other than that, I mean, like I think that this is a time, just in general, like this is the best time for you to be working on your own personal brand. You know, I think maybe the right way you reached out to me was I just recently, last week, I had to host a workshop on how to create a reel. And so I didn't want to teach that workshop having never created my own reel. So I spent a lot of time just like understanding that process by creating my own. And then I put that out, and, you know, I'm getting connected with other people already because of that posting, which is great. So yeah, like things like, you know, kind of boning up your brand, like getting that polished, understanding post-production. Another challenge that I need to hold myself accountable for this, and why I'm saying it now, is like another software in Adobe Creative Cloud that I really want to start to explore a lot is Adobe Animate. This is, I guess it's an award-winning software. I think it recently just won an award for you know, like basically you're able to create animations by just, you know, bringing in whatever character animation you have, and then it does facial recognition on that. And I'm like, well, I mean, at the end of the day, like, if this goes on for 6 months, a year, then animators are going to be the winners, right? Because they're the only people that don't have to be physically in person with anybody ever, right? So give me your audio recordings. you know, and I'll be at my computer and I can make this work. So that's a next goal for me, is to get in a little bit of animation.
Have you played with it at all?
Um, you know, I honestly, I haven't. Like, I feel like I'm close to it because I was playing around with Clips, which is some Apple software.
Yeah.
And in Clips, you're able to like create, you know, your little emoji or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a camera. There's like one setting where you're able to like turn that on, and it'll superimpose your emoji over your real face in real
Okay.
time. And then it'll do facial recognition and you can talk and all that. And I was like, yo, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, another thing that I have played around with some, which I think is going to be which I'm hoping will finally come. This will be the time for it to get big. Is virtual reality experiences, right?
Yeah.
I feel like it's just, there's such a barrier because you know, you have to get those VR headsets, but they're getting more and more affordable. And then even if you don't have a VR headset, having Facebook and YouTube allow you to do that interactivity, even if you're watching a traditional player, is really cool.
Yeah.
So that's another way we could have done like the Red Bay coffee thing, for example, right? Like I have right over here, I bought a little 360 camera.
Nice.
I'll just put that on a monopod, shoot the whole room all at once, and then I can bring that in Adobe Premiere. I can put voiceover narration on it. So that'd be a great way now, like, hey, I'll shoot your museum. Yeah. I can't have people around, you know what I mean? And there's nobody here right now. So let me just go in, set up my camera, then I'll send you over the timeline. You give me some narration, and for every room of your museum, I can, you know, you can have a whole virtual museum tour.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially now since all the museums are closed. I mean, I know a lot of them, you know, especially like in New York, stuff have already gone into that virtual tours, you know, because and then they're also providing free membership. I think that the most interesting thing about right now is that the space is cleared, you know, like we've all been put in the same box.
Right.
But now it's up to us to be creative and put some intention behind our thinking to create strategies to get out of the box, or to, you know, bring those clients into that space that we're doing.
Exactly. Yeah. I had one of my colleagues was just saying that, like, his buddy is works at Saturday Night Live, and like he's having to like remote access, you know, his work desktop from his daughter's like bedroom, because that's like the only place where he's like got good enough internet. And I'm like, wait, so like Saturday Night Live and NBC folks are actually utilizing this, like the same level of technology that I am right now. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so the playing field has kind of been even, and I feel like the folks that are the most ingenuitive and are like most comfortable with technology are probably in a good position to take advantage of that.
Yeah. While you were editing your reel, and it's kind of going backwards a little bit, but are you on Premiere or Final Cut?
I'm on Premiere.
Okay. So in that process, was there anything that you learned that kind of stood out, or something that you needed to figure out that made a huge difference through that process?
Well, you know, I actually, I think the biggest thing for me was just, you know, I don't have a music background. And I feel like I had created a cut before for another workshop, but I wasn't super happy with it. And, you know, I told you about Motion Array, which is, you know, not only the platform for video reviewing, but they have all the stock music and footage and stuff. And I had initially sourced the music from Motion Array. And I was like, I'm not really excited. Like, I feel like sometimes it's you kind of miss whenever you're like a creator like me. It's like, all right, I definitely want to I probably want to have like a hip hop vibe to it, but it can't just be any commercial hip hop. It's got to have a little bit of feeling behind it. Yeah. So, you know, I had to venture out from Motion Array, and, you know, not to like get on here and plug all these different platforms, but I was super excited. It was like we just got a music membership to artlist.io. Okay. And I had heard about it. I'd seen some ads, and I was like, all right, whatever. Like but I tried it out, and it was really great. For like a level of like, oh, okay, cool. This is modern music. It has really great search filters. I think what I like about it too is it's like being able to like, I think the hardest thing for me inside of this real process is choosing music, right?
Yeah.
Like,
You spend days doing
yeah,
it.
yeah, you could spend so long doing it. So, what helps me to expedite that process sometimes is I already know, like, okay, for my reel, I only want this thing. I want this to be 2 minutes tops, right?
Mhm.
So I don't want to spend 15 to 20 seconds of it with some cool intro. Like that's a large percentage of my video where it's just this kind of slow like build up.
Right, right.
So what I liked about Artlist was like them showing like the true audio waveforms before you even click play on it.
Mhm.
Because I'm like, if I see like little bit of this for the first 30 seconds, I'm not even gonna go there, right?
Right.
So I was able to quickly find something that was like exactly, like what I was like. It still took like 2 hours, but like
Yeah.
it could have took days,
Yeah.
of me sifting through. So I was able to filter out a lot that way. So I mean, that was the biggest thing. Another editing thing right now, which isn't related or isn't specific to COVID-19 or whatever, but just something for editors and any video professionals to be out there is like, I think I've noticed some issues between the newest upgrade in Adobe Premiere and the latest version of Apple's OS.
Okay.
Um, where like, I had an editor I offloaded the piece to, and he spent like 2 hours, or like he spent like an hour and a half, because every time we would just try to open up like Adobe Premiere 2020,
Mhm.
and he had just upgraded his software, it kept crashing. So he had to go through all
Wow.
these like lift surge and stuff. So just something to be on the lookout. Like maybe hold off on updating your OS on your Mac if you're working on a Mac until
Yeah.
some of those issues are resolved.
Yeah, I know. I'm always a little slow on updating my OS for that
Yeah,
reason alone. I think, they update something and then it's up to the software companies to catch up. Versus, if you're using Final Cut, I'm sure they update the OS, and Final Cut is also updated to match, or because it's more seamless.
right.
But,
Yeah, which is tricky. I'm actually trying to get into or not even necessarily trying to. I just noticed recently that I've been getting into Final Cut and iMovie more. I hadn't touched it for years, but for some reason, like this year, like I notice a lot more folks, and that might be another industry as well. I'm getting a lot of folks that have maybe want me to shoot it, but they're like, I want to edit it myself, right?
mhm.
So I'm like opening up my freelance services some to not only just do a video for somebody, but honestly, it works out better for me time wise if it's like, great, you want me to just shoot it to you and give you it, and or you want me to just spend 2 hours teaching you how to do it, like great. So that's another opportunity, even during this quarantine, right? If you're familiar enough with editing software, audio software, whatever, hop on a screen share and, you can show them it. And then another quick tip for maybe some not super technical folks is like QuickTime. I love doing screen recordings with QuickTime now.
Mhm.
Because like, yeah, you don't even necessarily have to do a live tutorial. You can just give them a little quick basis and be like, great, and I'll, show you how to do this real quick, and I'll email you over some tutorial videos that you can review
Right.
on your own.
Right. So building your network without actually creating like a channel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's good. You said something that kind of stuck out to me, in the sense of, being that you're more of a producer, shooter, editor, kind of all in one.
Hmm.
Whereas a lot of my projects I take on are I'm just shooting.
Yeah.
Um, and I think, like diversifying your product offerings is pretty key in this time too. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I found this out because like I was the opposite of you. I spent so much of my career strictly as an editor. Um, and then like as I've grown, I'm starting to realize I'm not getting as much control as I would like in the final product,
Mhm.
right? Like I can edit whatever, but if it wasn't shot great, then like I guess it's like I still have to use it for my reel, even though ultimately you can't really see, like, I guess I'll just show you the motion graphics editor or whatever, because I don't want to show you the final stuff, right? So like really picking up more time to do understand cinematography has been really helpful. But then even now I'm like, I'm trying to commit to only having so many projects. So doing like video adjacent things that can still bring in that supplemental income, like teaching, video editing on the side has been really good. I'm also toying around with the idea, like there's so many like online courses out there now, right? So figuring out what my niche is in that field, right? Maybe it is video specific, but I'm sure if you're in the video world, you get an advertisement on Instagram that's like, hey, do you want to make music videos? Take this class. Or hey, do you want to make real estate videos? Right? So I don't want to make music videos full time. I don't want to make real estate videos full time, but I do need to get a supplemental income through video. So like for me, it's like, okay, maybe I can create a course around something, and I have everything that I need. I have a backdrop that I got at B&H, a green screen backdrop. I have an office right now with pretty high ceilings. I have like a nice little light kit. I got a camera, and I have the ability to write and edit. So like if I can put together like a course like that, especially during this time, it might be a good way to help other people get an entry into the field.
Yeah, totally. What are you using, or what methods come to mind when you're starting to think about alternative income or supplemental income? Like, do you have a process of like, I could do this, you write it down and or do you brainstorming, like life mapping, like what kind of resources are you using for that?
I wish I was that organized. Ultimately, I mean, if my wife is here, basically, I feel like at least once a month, like I'll just run into the room, like, babe, I got a great idea. What about this? And that's my first test right there. She's like, that could work. I'm like, all right, great. I'm going to go back to the drawing board. I'm going to flesh this out some more. Most of the time, it's like, okay, Theo, like, it won't work for this, and this reason, right? So that's generally like, it's just human feedback, and wife feedback is a good system. And then from there, like I guess my organization process, like I guess the biggest example right now is for my web series, right? Like I'm trying to, I put money in my own personal money into it. And so it's like, all right, what are the business strategies now, right? I want to be able to not just put this out on YouTube and maybe it gets 1 million views, maybe it gets 4 views. We'll just see. Like I want to try to go with a more targeted strategy. And for me, that's been using creating timelines, giving myself enough time, and then utilizing a project management system. I personally like Asana, so that I can, make sure on a regular basis that I'm getting email notifications to myself about whenever something's due. I also put like calendar invites inside of Google Calendar. And sometimes I don't make those, and I'm able to just readjust it, but it doesn't, like, I have so many ideas floating in and out that like having like a email notification and creating that timeline from the beginning helps me to continue to stay on course, because I can't tell you how many times like I've had these big ideas and then something new comes and then like it pushes out the old plan, right? So it's just a way for me to continue to get grounded and make sure I'm executing on all the ideas that are actually achievable after my wife gives me the green light.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Asana. I'm not a diehard user yet. I've just started within just a short amount of time, and so I'm really looking forward to the functionality of that. I think any method you use to help keep things organized and ideas that you can come back to is essential, especially now, because if we allow ourselves just a little bit of a break, a little bit of time to, exhale and kind of let our brains wander, I know ideas are going to start coming, and we're going to get creative thoughts, and we're going to start putting some action to it. So having a system like that sounds like it's vital to keeping you accountable.